Hey, and good morning, everybody. How's everyone
Morning.
doing today? Megan, Marianne, Justin, welcome.
Hello?
So we have a really pretty cool stream today. Very, very topical. Very uh, focused on getting some done. It's going to really be about the updates for Teams for 2020, late 2020 or winter 2020. You have different names for it, but it's all kind of end of the year stuff. So really great stuff that we put together. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for everyone to join us on our live streams. We have some really exciting webinars that we've recorded to check out on our YouTube page. Like and subscribe, throw some questions on there, whatever you like. We're also getting ready for a big one for next week, and I'll have to get to that later. But, Marianne, I just wanted to kick us off. What's going on in the world of Teams, which we use all day, every day? And so you sit in it. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many changes that have come since, the beginning of fall and more to come after this. And just in general, I just love that it's constantly updating. I mean, obviously they're trying to be competitive. It's as much for them as it is for us, but I feel like they are like putting in things that we've been asking for and a couple of random things that we didn't ask for. But
Happens.
we'll take a look at some of those. So there's a couple of topics that we want to cover today. The first one that I want to look into is the updates to chat updates, private notifications, things like that. So one thing that we are seeing more of is the notification pop-ups. Like there's a couple of ways where it can get in your way. So one of them is if you're have someone, I don't know, near you, less likely now, but if you're in maybe a screen share mode and the notification pops up at the bottom, you might have had someone message you with something that was just like jokey or, not something that you want to share in either way. It could be a meme. It could be, even a neutral comment about another client. You don't want that to be shared. So they have the option where now it's going to pop up and it's just going to show the person's name. You do have to click to turn it on as part of your notification settings, but it'll just show the person's name and it won't show the content. So that's one option that you can do, and that'll protect people from seeing things that they're not necessarily supposed to see. And another one is that you can turn those basically off. Yeah, you can make it so obviously like the notifications don't pop up, but you can make it just so it's a person's name. Whew. You can appear offline as well, which is kind of fun. Not fun, but it's useful. Yeah, kind of fun, but it's useful. So one of the things I feel like Teams fixed was there is a lot less when you're in an office together. There's a lot less shoulder tapping. People will message you and say, "Hey, did you see this?" Instead of coming over and be like, "Hey, what's up with this?" and it stops your day. But now that Teams is more ubiquitous, that's kind of happening in Teams. The people will at you, people will do other things. So you can appear offline even if you are working. You can still see the updates in Teams. You don't have to like completely shut down Teams, but you can mark yourself as offline.
Right.
But going back to notifications, the notification settings themselves got a makeover. They wanted it to be a little bit easier to read, easier to adjust your notifications, because honestly, they have a lot of notification settings based on whether or not you're in the app, what type of notifications you get for chats. Are you getting mentions? Are you getting reactions? Things like that. So there are a lot of notifications, and they just made it a lot cleaner, a lot easier to see. So yeah, we have it up here on the screen, so you can kind of see that. The show message preview is the one I was talking about before. You can turn that off, and it'll just show the person's name. So yeah, so if you check out that notifications, a lot of people don't think about making those edits when they first start. Do it. Make sure that you set it up for however it works best for you, how it's going to be less interruptive or more interruptive if you think you're missing things in Teams. So that's really
Yeah, I
makes
know
sense.
for myself, I use the email notifications. So if I go 24 hours without seeing something in Teams, it sends me an email. It's like, okay, I should look at that.
Right.
But the chances of me going 24 hours without looking at Teams is means I'm probably on vacation. But
Right.
Yeah.
even then,
Right.
I'm always in there.
But sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's in sub teams or certain
Yeah,
places you may not
exactly.
be looking at all times, or you're kind of like a casual user of that team. Kind of lurking, I suppose is the
Yeah,
right word.
well, and
So
especially for us because we have a bunch that are not necessarily things that you would need to check right away, but that might have useful information. And depending on what you're doing, like we have a
right.
team that we use for notifications if servers are being planned to be rebooted. I mean,
Hmm.
very specific to us, but yeah, I may not check that team every day because I'm not necessarily looking at server stuff, but I'll get a digest of it if I haven't looked at it at the end of the day in case I need something that's there, and I find that useful. So.
Right. Yeah. Excellent.
I like notification settings for things like, I mean, there's a lot of people will do at channel type things, and for certain channels, I want to turn that off. I don't need you to at channel me that there is buy one get one McMuffins at McDonald's. I mean, that can be useful, but I don't need that to pop up during my day.
Right. Seriously.
It can be useful, but like, yes, I don't want it to interrupt my current workflow.
I think Matt took that personally.
I know.
Wasn't very happy
I
with
said
that.
McDonald's, not Wendy's has breakfast now. That one can pop up. That would be fine. And then the last one, the other one for chat and notifications that is, if you are on Teams, you've seen it, but it's super important and worth mentioning is that they did the new start a new conversation button. So before it was so easy to just, you're trying to reply to the message above and then you just start typing, but it was a thing at the bottom and it was confusing. And that was always a new user thing. I'd be like, hey, reply to the conversation if you want to reply to the conversation, or type at the bottom if you don't want to. And they've sort of, taken out a lot of human error by making it so you have to press a button to start a new conversation. And it's obvious if you're replying or starting a new.
Right. Yeah, I assure you, I probably started many a new conversation, as you all well know, in the process of that.
Fingers.
What? And then we have to figure out: do we reply to the original one and just act like it's in there, or do we reply to the other one? No, this is much easier to work with now.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and now if you see someone make a new conversation, but it's based on a previous conversation, you have to wonder: did they do that on purpose? Are they trying to start a new thread with them as the star? Or do they need to take my Teams trainings and get all the?
There you go.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the way to get it done, right? Is to learn how to do it the right way. So very good. So I guess there's some of these personal kind of day-to-day, like these UI improvements. What's going on with the meetings? I mean, I noticed a huge change. And the other day, I mean, I'll relate some of the sort of frustration, sort of curiosities. But what do you see? What are the big changes you've seen in the meetings aspects of it?
Yeah, well, there's they're trying to make it a little bit better for having those bigger broadcast meetings or trainings or things like that. I remember this was, months ago, but I had a training and I was like, oh, for this, there's some background noise. I'm going to mute everyone. And I hadn't put on like the option to allow people to unmute themselves. So those people were just like permanently muted. And I was like, oh, does anyone have any questions? And then they're typing in the chat, like, I can't talk. And someone else was like, yeah, I think Marianne muted us, so we can't talk. I was like, oh, God. So they made that a very obvious option. You can do it in the meetings options, which you can access from the calendar section of Teams. And it's just right at the bottom, allow attendees to unmute. Now, you don't unmute them for them because that could be a privacy thing, but they will be able to unmute themselves, which is super helpful when you want people to have input on your, on your meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is a small one, but it saved my bacon. So that's why I put it on there. But there are some bigger ones, obviously, that we want to go over. There is one that I think a lot of people will find easier if they do need to be a lot more mobile. They have made it so there's a more easy transition between devices. So you can be on your laptop and switch to your phone and it won't be as interruptive. Or you could be on your phone, you're making a tea, and then you just click over to your laptop when you sit down with the tea, and you're still in that meeting the whole time. But it is just a little bit easier to be able to do things like real quick without interrupting the meeting or having to leave and all that stuff. I did I put in my notes that Microsoft said no one will be the wiser, but I was like, but if you have your camera on, they're bound to notice that you're selfieing and then you're at a stationary. But I assume they mean voice chat and stuff like that. No one will be the wiser because it's a better transition. So if you do need to jump from one platform to another.
It's pretty smooth, actually. I notice it too. Is you just have your phone on your desk and you sit there and the call starts and you see if the phone is like, I think it's sitting at this desk. So it's very good. Yes,
I had a real world use case for that last week. I was on a call and my laptop, the way I had it positioned, it overheated and shut down. And so I quickly just grabbed my phone, jumped into the call. I'm on the call on my phone. When the laptop booted back up and Teams came back up, there was a message right there that says, "Hey, do you want to switch to this?"
Mhm.
Just hit it, switched over, right in. So
Yep.
it was, I missed a couple of seconds when the laptop shut down, but I was able to just be right back in and keep things
Yeah.
going from there.
I had one. I mean, this one's a little bit my own fault, but I had downloaded that like Snap camera so I could do the potato thing and all that those fun filters. But it was messing up when I would sign into Teams sometimes. It would be like, wait, I'm on the Snap filter and it's not working. So eventually I got rid of that. But for the time being, I'd be like, I need to show my camera. So I quickly grabbed my phone and then I would do that instead. But yeah, so there's things like that where like there's reasons. Maybe my headset is dying. This one's wired in, so it's not a big deal. But maybe you're just like, before I go and find other stuff, let me just take the phone audio. So
Right.
that one can be super helpful.
Super.
Yeah. And then there's another one for that we were playing around with when we were planning this. It's called the Spotlight feature. So this is great because I think this is something people missed in Teams that a lot of things have where you can pin a person. So you can pin the person who's the main person talking. Look, it's me. I'm talking. I'm giving this training. And what it does is it will present it to the other users as such. So I pinned George without saying anything, and eventually everyone was like, "Why is George the only one who's pinning?" Just to do a demonstration.
Also, I look pretty confused there. Like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him about it afterwards. I just wanted to get a candid shot, and that's it. So yeah, so that one's really useful, especially if you want to spotlight someone. The only weird thing about it is that I couldn't find a way to spotlight myself. So if I'm hosting a meeting and I don't have a partner in there wasn't a way. Maybe there is a way. Maybe they're updating it. Maybe I haven't figured it out. Maybe I have to turn on that setting in order to use that. But I couldn't find a way to spotlight myself and be like, "Hey, I'm in charge." I guess it's all about lifting other people up. So keep that in mind.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it looks like it's geared towards the live presentation types of things, and
Yes.
the ideas that you have a producer station, that's somebody that's
Yeah.
doing things like doing the screen share and doing stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they would muting people and those sorts of things, and the person who's presenting is just giving the presentation.
Yeah.
We
I
tend
guess
to
the
do
one thing
everything
though
ourselves.
is it is different from, so if someone's used to Zoom and they're used to pinning someone, when you pin someone, generally it's just on your screen. But if you're spotlighting someone, you're doing it for everybody. Now, attendees won't be able to do that if you have people outside your organization marked as attendees, but the people who are participants can. But that is something to keep in mind. Don't just pin someone because you're like, wait, what kind of sheets does Justin have? Because everyone's going to see that you've pinned him.
They are undersea
I was like, that looks
creatures.
like sharks. Yeah.
It's sharks and whales and fish and submarines.
Yeah.
I
Um,
like it. Jeff.
I love
Thank
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've actually got a couple of different new options for display. I didn't want to go into too many of them. Some of them are not necessarily as useful, but as someone who does give live presentations, I really like the spotlight feature. So
Very
that
cool.
was fun.
Right. So I guess the next one that is in our list of things that are important. What are these Teams templates? This is a little new to me. I haven't heard about this until today, so I'm really excited to learn about this.
Yeah, I saw this and I was like really excited. I wrote in our notes like, this is my WrestleMania. Like this is I've been waiting for, like, this is great because this is half the things when people need Teams trainings is that they want this stuff partially pre-made for them. It's like finally they have some options for pre-made teams. So basically what it does is when you go to make a team, it's going to give you the option. You can make it from scratch just like normal. You can make it as you copy a team you've already made. Again, that was already available. But then below, it's got a bunch of templates pre-made based on industry, based on something that you want to do. So you can see there's stuff like manage an event, manage a project, or they've got it for like the healthcare industry, collaborate on patient care, onboarding new employees, like that type of stuff. So they've got a couple. I didn't scroll down and find more, but there are some on there. And it's just super helpful. So if you want to be managing an event, you click the manage event one, and then it's going to give you a bunch of options, which will be, well, it's going to set up the channels that they think that you're going to want. So the one for that one is it has like notifications and things like that. And then it's also going to pre-set up some applications that are tied in, like Planner, a wiki for it, a YouTube for it, so things like that. So you can see here there are the 7 channels for managing an event and 5 apps that they recommend. Now it's not going to be full of information. You are still going to have in the planner be like, okay, these are my phases and things like that. But it is going to give you sort of like, here's the tools we recommend, here are the channels we recommend, and of course you can add your own. You can subtract, you can delete ones that aren't useful to you.
Right.
But it is really, it's like a good way to start. You don't just start with a tabula rasa with a blank slate and you're like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
But you again, you can still do things like that, but it helps you get started faster, which I think a lot of people have been asking for years.
Yeah.
I mean,
And in addition to the ones that they give you, your team's admin can make templates specific to your organization as well. So, if you have something like, oh, we always create teams for this specific thing, and it should have these 5 channels and this app, that you can have that so you have it as a go-to.
that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, I could. It's like you kind of get your wheels spinning on like how many things you can do, and
Yeah.
just and even the initial ones are like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then you start thinking about the next phase of it, like where you really have it. So like, hey, we have a new client, and
new
this is a
client. Here's
team.
our team for that.
Here's a team for that, and here's all the
Pre-populated.
workflows and all populated, and
Yeah.
eliminate some of the other pieces.
I say sometimes like renewing people's contracts, takes a couple of steps, and as little as it can be, it can just be like, hey, we need to get this tiny initiative going, or it could be a big like, we need to remake the website. Those things can be teams. You can make those templates, and I guess remaking the website is probably not something you're going to do once a year, but renewing contracts definitely could be. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, also, I think, just I have some other thoughts, but we have a great comment from our a loyal commenter, Stefan Kaup. So, does Microsoft list somewhere the third-party products vendors that integrate Teams with, like VoIP systems, project manager, etc. So, I'm going to answer the question is yes, but how? I know there is one, but Justin, maybe you could walk us through that.
Yeah, that's going to depend on how you're integrating it. So there are vendors and tool will make their own integrations for different things, and they'll have different layers, different levels of how integrated they are. Sometimes it's as simple as just an app that you can plug into Teams. Sometimes it's deeper, and for those, the best bet is to check the vendor itself and look to see if they have it. In terms of the app store of things that are in Teams, it's built in directly into Teams. There's like an app section, and you can see all the directly published apps that are there. A lot of those are, while they're free to install, they rely on like a paid service on the back end. So like one of them, let's say, is linking to Asana. Well, you have to have Asana, and if you're using the free version, you may not have all the features. What's exciting that is new is that there's been a lot of work putting together really a development framework around Teams so that it's easier for either companies to build those sort of plugins, to build those pieces, or depending on your organization, for if you have a developer or if you're a larger company, to build your own custom things based on Teams. So there are some that are published, as in here's a tool that you can use, that you can install, a template that you can use and install and customize, and then from there you can add stuff onto it. So really roundaboutly, is there a single list somewhere? No, there's not one list, because there's lots and lots of pieces that integrate into it. The easiest thing that I've found, if you want to know if a specific thing has an integration, is just to Google, a great example I'm sure that Stefan's thinking of, because he asked me yesterday, was Ring Central.
I was thinking that too.
What their plugin, how does that work? I'm like, well, I know they have one, but I'm just going to Google Ring Central Teams Office 365 plugin, and the first result is, here it is, and here's how to install it. So that's probably the easiest way to find a particular one if you're looking for something specific.
But if you want a list, we've got at the bottom right there, that Teams integration, that link is actually Microsoft's website has that list created. So that is also a good resource, but it is, obviously people are making new integrations daily. So make sure you cross your I's and dot your T's.
I know. We built our own kind of bot the other day to remind people to do certain things, and I think that's a really useful way of using the Teams tools, is to kind of like, hey, do this action or something like that. And I think every client could use that.
Yes. I would just say Office 365 is all about the integrations and not just with their own applications, but other applications. But that is, check out our Teams trainings. If there's anything specific that you have questions on, let us know, because we'd be glad to go deeper into one of those if there is interest. But there are a lot of integrations, and there's a lot that you can do with it, and it just takes a little exploring.
Exactly.
And if you really want to get into deep into it, there are integrations that you can build on your own using Power Automate. I'm not going to go too far into it because that can get that used to be Flow. Now it's called Power Automate. You can make links to things. So we have one, a real basic one, that is when a email comes in from a text message, text to email, it copies that message and puts it into a certain team chat, just so it pops up in Teams. That's
more easily accessible.
Yeah. And that's a simple one that you can do, but there are lots of pre-built connectors, and then from there's also customizations you can do into it, and you can do some cool stuff.
And some of it, honestly, are, like you said, are pre-built and are really easy for you to set up yourself. But if it all seems a little bit too much for you, contact your IT professional. If you're a Valiant client, contact us. We're glad to consult on that and help walk you through it, or ask the question, and we're glad to do either a stream or a video or
or do a KB.
So
exactly. So there's some stuff happening in Teams that's kind of, as they're developing it, it's not so user friendly or not as easy, not so fun. I think the note I have here is not so fun facts.
I mean, it's a bit more like a caveat is just, they're progressing. So one is some things are getting, retired. So actually one of the things is that, Teams is available in the browser, which is great and super useful and convenient wherever you are. They're going to be retiring at the end of November, the ability to use Teams or get those updates for Teams on Internet Explorer. Sorry, I have written down which one it is. IE
11.
11. Thank you. I thought it was 11, and I was like, is that just because? Okay, IE 11 as of November 30th. It's not going to be supported. But I mean, you can still use it on Microsoft Edge. You can use it on Chrome, Firefox, Safari, those things. So it's good to know that some things are. It's just more update, more progress, which is actually not that bad.
Exactly, and I mean, we've been supporting the sunsetting of Explorer for a long time. It's a really insecure browser at this point. It's really exciting to get rid of it out of the operating system or block it, and it's still going to be there, but the less we use it, the safer it is our users and people that we work with. So and obviously if anyone knows this, but the new Edge is based on Chrome. So Chromium, which is kind of the SDK for Chrome, which is, so it's going to be much more integrated into the Google kind of standards and the Chrome standards, which is pretty exciting for a Microsoft browser. One other thing I think is that, Justin, you brought up about not every feature is available.
Teams, when new features get rolled out, it's not everything isn't always available right away to everybody. They tend to roll things out to different tenants just differently as they're going across servers, and it's not a universal rollout. So you may have a new feature that we don't have yet. We might have a new feature that you don't have yet. It just takes some time for everybody to catch up. And there really isn't like a release date where it's like, this feature is live for everybody now. It's always, well, this feature is starting to go live and everybody should have it by the end of 3 weeks or something like that. So there's a lot of waiting for new things if you're interested in them.
If you're early adapter, it's definitely like now we get in the waiting game kind of thing. So
along those lines, there is a new like preview ring that you can get into for Teams that lets you get some of those features up front. Whether or not it's the most stable thing to do is another question. But if you're have a test account or a test environment that you want to see those things, you can get it a little bit earlier. But otherwise, for the live usage, it's just waiting for it to roll out.
Great.
So if there's anything we mentioned today that you don't have, there's actually a couple reasons that you might be able not have it. One is that it's rolling out, slowly, exactly what Justin said. It's going to be updated soon. Another one is some of these things need to be turned on by the admin. Like not everything is default. Sometimes when they release new updates, it's something that is just available, but not necessarily turned on for everyone yet.
Right.
So that is something you can check out. You can see, talk to your administrator, talk to your IT team, and see, if that's available and to be turned on. And then sometimes they haven't quite updated for every system. I know that a couple people said, well, that's not available on Mac yet because they make it, it's ready. And then they push it out, but they haven't made it so it's available on the native app in Mac, or maybe sometimes if you primarily use the browser. I'm pointing up because my browser screen is right here. I don't know why. But if you primarily use Teams in the browser, a lot of times some features don't go to the browser, sometimes ever. So they usually get released on the PC application first, and then they get moved on. So that's also a possibility. If you don't see like Spotlight, for example, that might not have been pushed out to everything yet. So that's another reason you might
And
see.
interestingly enough, too, the mobile app sometimes gets some features before the desktop app does. There's a new feature rolling out for desktop that'll let you switch between accounts if you have multiple accounts. And just reading the blogs and posts about it, there are people who are on mobile saying, "Yeah, I've had that feature on mobile for a while now." So it's not always a clear cut what platform gets what feature first and when everything rolls out.
Right. That makes sense, and how it moves around that way, and the slow. When you have millions upon millions of end users, it is a phased kind of approach at the end of the day. So,
well, and accessibility from anywhere has its drawbacks, because if it's available on multiple phone platforms and multiple computer platforms and also on multiple browsers, obviously you gotta get all of them, make sure that they all work. So
different teams testing, all that sort of thing, different development teams, I should say. So, anyway, this is great. Totally a ton of information, just kind of pull it together, better for users, better adaption, really a lot of features that people are waiting for. It's constantly being updated. So please check back on our knowledge base, our site. We put a lot of information on this. It's one of our core apps. Many of our clients is become a core app for them, especially if they work from anywhere kind of paradigm that we're living in now, which is great. But that being said, if you have questions or you need training, sometimes the best way to get people using it is kind of give them a standardized methodology to deploy the tool versus doing the whole thing where you just leave them up to themselves, and then you start getting some unusual use cases. As Mary probably can attest, you're like, well, it's a new way of using that I'd never thought of. But it's sometimes it's really interesting as people do, but sometimes it may not be the
necessity is the mother of innovation.
That's true. It's true. Exactly. So, but it's really great. I mean, what we're seeing, this Teams is really ramping, going for some of the competition out there. And if you use it for video conferencing, if you use it for education, if you use it for collaboration, please let us know. We'd love to see how you guys are using it, get some questions and get some answers, and put together another live stream, because this is a really topic that's important, we think, for our audience and for people who work with us. So with that, do you guys have anything else for today?
Yeah, that's mostly it. I mean, like George said, we want to hear your feedback. So if you're using Teams for certain things, or if there's a feature that you want that maybe you saw on a different platform, you can message us directly. You can leave it in the comments, because we'd love to have that conversation with you. And you never know, you might be like, I wish it did this, and it does. There's like so much to explore. So yeah, let us know in the comments if you have any opinions on it, if you've been using it for certain things, if you've especially if you've used any of those templates, because I can't wait to hear some more feedback on that. So
we'd like to get some news from actual rural examples. So we're going to start seeing, we're going to start rolling it out all over the place. So really excited to see what that happens.
So let us know.
Exactly. Well, anyway, please, as always, thank you so much for anyone. Thank you all for you all to be on the live stream today, and we love the audience. And please like, share, and subscribe. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we're also on YouTube. So you can watch these at any one of those places and check it out. And please leave your comments. We really appreciate the feedback. So our live stream next week is actually kind of a little shift from this kind of practical, hey, this is how you use it, but something a little more strategic as we get into the end of the year. So we're going to be doing a IT budgets basics kind of with a bit of a how-to downloadable that will demonstrate, and there's a lot of information on it, because I think that as you get to the end of the year, you're really got to start thinking about what next year looks like. Even though it seems so far away, it's really right around the corner. It's like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, once again, if you have any questions on that, please let us know, and please check us out next week for this. That'd be great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.